Good evening, and thank you for joining and being a part of another episode of King's Corner. I'm your host, Latif Muhammad. In today's episode, I want to get into a few topics, one of those being respect and the meaning of it. I'm going to share with you a few people that I have the most respect for. Secondly, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is business. And lastly, in line with business, I'm going to get into how I possibly can help you with some of your business concerns. But before I begin, I just want to say thank you for being a part of this podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me at 386-265-7230. I typically begin with a motivational or inspirational message before I can begin with King's Corner. So to follow that path, I'll just go on and start talking and saying this. Sometimes we don't have the courage to change. Everything changes us to direct us to a new path. You can't stop yourself from growing because evolution always requires that. And I say that because some of us don't like change. It makes us feel very uncomfortable, or we have to move from one space to another, or we have to pivot. And a lot of us, we become very complacent. So we kind of like where we are in life. We like what we're doing, and we don't want no one to shake that foundation and tell us we have to pivot, right? Some of us are just scared of change. And it's okay to be scared of change. It happens to the best of us. And that's just basic information. But sometimes we may have to change. We might have to move from one state to another. We might have to move from one relationship to another. One job to another. And it could be kind of scary. I'll be totally transparent with you guys. I was looking for, I was in between jobs, right? And for lack of a better word, I was fired from one. And I was looking for another job. This was some time ago. And, in looking for work, you pretty much want to find whatever you can sustain yourself and sustain your bills and things like that. So I ended up looking at this particular population of people who I never knew kind of existed. And if I did see them, like many of us, if we're ignorant to it, we're going to make fun of it or them. And although I never made fun of people, kind of looked at them in a funny sort of way. But then I got to know them. I needed a job, but I got to know them. And so this particular population, you meet the most beautiful people in this population. They're the most caring, the most loving, and they'll do whatever they can for you. And you have people in this world who would take advantage of that situation. But I learned from it, and it was my path. So I've been on that path over 10 years now. So it opened up, a lot of knowledge for me to understand, to know that, change sometimes can be good because it opens up new opportunities. So the first thing that I mentioned earlier that I wanted to get into was called respect. Some of us, we are familiar with Aretha Franklin, and that's how I came up with this particular topic, respect, because oftentimes we use this word loosely. Some of us feel like we are entitled to it. Some of us feel like we deserve it, right? And we throw that word around, respect, So in one of her lines, she says, RESPECT, find out what it means to me. And what does it mean, right? What is the meaning of the word respect, right? So, if you delve into it a little bit deeper, respect just means holding in high regard, or being able to consider worthy of high regard. So I had to reflect on my life, and I had to, look at the people who affected me and on a positive level. And, how much these individuals I respected. There were three people. There's a lot of them, I've been around for a while, but there are three people in my life who I felt like, they earn my respect, and I'll start with my mother, right? So my mom, hardworking, it was just me and my brother. You know, um, I have to say, I've never missed a meal. At the time, all of my lights, well, she paid the light bill, she paid the electric bill, she paid the gas bill, water bill, all of that. So I never had to go, me and my brother never had to go with any of that. You know, we always had food on the table, but we did have hard times. You know, we went through some things. Um, but, you know, like any true mom, you know, real mom, they made it happen. Like I always say, this is what I was taught. You know, your mom is your first mom, your first nurse, your first teacher. She's your first everything. She's like your God, you know, because you look to her for everything as a baby. You know, if you were breastfed, you know, you look to her. You know, if you wanted to get your bath, you look to her. Those kind of things. So, and I respected her a lot, and so may God be pleased with her. Um, she was beautiful. She was a wonderful mom. Now, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of us didn't grow up with our biological fathers, and I was one of those. I didn't grow up with my biological dad, but my stepdad took over, you know, and he did a wonderful job. He had children of his own, and you know, because he had children of his own, you would think that he would, you know, kind of not necessarily slight us, but give us less attention than he would his biological children. And he didn't do that. He had 3 older children. They were grown, out the house, living their life or whatever. And he decided to be with my mother and help raise myself and my brother. I remember days when he used to take us fishing and just do things with us and just show love like a biological father would. And so with him, I respect him so much, and may God be pleased with him too, because he's now no longer with us. So I kind of like emulate or pattern my life to some degree behind what he showed me. So with my children and my life, you know, I kind of set the tone by what he implemented to me. So all praises due to Allah for my mom and my stepdad. And I really don't want to call him my stepdad. He was like my dad. He was my dad. So don't ever want to give him that stepdad role because he was my dad. But the last person, and really the most important person to me too, was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he's been around, he's still around, the ripe old age of 90 years old, still inspiring, still motivating, still talking about truth, justice, freedom, and equality, independence. He's been a very important figure in my life for many, many years. And so he's another brother who's been like a spiritual father to me, helping me through a lot of stuff. He has a lot of lectures, a lot of, you know, information that you can definitely go ahead and implement in your life to make yourself a better man and woman. So wonderful. So those are the 3 individuals that I respect with the utmost. So I know you all are asking, like, what does respect have to do with the second thing I'm about to mention, which is business? Well, there is a law in business that we have to respect. With any entity, we have to respect the law of the world. We have to respect the law of life. We have to respect each other. So respect is in everything that we do, and we have to abide by certain laws. And so that doesn't exclude business. There is what's called business law, the law of business. So when it comes down to the understanding the law as it pertains to business, we sometimes don't respect the law. So what does that mean? So let me ask you this. Law is kind of like understanding it, right? So, you know, some of us, you may not know the terms I'm about to give up right now. So some of us might not know about employment law or entity formation or intellectual property or taxes. Well, we're going to dig a little deep into these areas. And if you're having issues in these areas, hopefully I can find a solution for you this afternoon, this evening, tonight, this morning, wherever you are listening to this particular podcast. So we want to get into the first thing. So for entrepreneurs, business owners out there who may be just beginning their journey, or if you're a seasoned business owner who might have missed some things and may need to regroup, this segment might be for you. And so consider this area, knowing your rights as a business owner. So the first term I want to get into is called entity formation. I'll say it again, entity formation. So entity formation is basically determining how you're going to create a business structure. So the way the business is taxed, how your assets are protected, and how it's managed. So choosing the right entity is so important. So depending on how you want your business to be constructed or structured, you have to have it as one of the following: as a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, S Corp, or C Corp. And so you're going to have to need the business registered in your state. You must file the necessary paperwork, paying the required fees and licenses to operate legally. There's another term that's called drafting and filling the article of incorporation or organization. And so depending on the entity type, you'll need to file an article of incorporation or organization. This is in particularly for the LLC. It just puts your business in a legal existence and provides information such as the business name and registered agent. Speaking of business names, you'll need to establish what's called an EIN number, employee identification number. That'll need to be filed with the IRS. Lastly, drafting and adopting bylaws, or an operating agreement. These are legal documents that establish the rules and procedures for managing your business. Lastly, we have what's called maintaining compliance. Small businesses need to comply with state regulations along with federal and state to avoid legal issues. Next, we have employment law. So you need to know the law about hiring. You need to know the law about wage, the difference between wage and hour law. There is what's called employment classification. What does that mean? It's when small businesses will need to classify their workers properly as either employees or independent contractors. Misclassification of workers can lead to legal disputes, fines, and payback claims. Discrimination, harassment, ensure workplaces free from that. So you need to know whenever you're hiring your employee, you want to make sure that you're not being discriminated against, or you're discriminating some future employees. So you want to make sure you have a good number of Black employees, Hispanic employees, white employees, male employees, female employees, employees from different communities, right? And you also want to make sure that they're not being harassed. So you want to make sure all of those things are in order, because if not, you can find yourself in a pretty bad situation. You also want to become familiar with family and medical leaves. There is a difference. So, sometimes we have families who, or mothers who are pregnant, right? And they have to go on what's called maternity leave. For those of you who don't know, men are able to go on maternity leaves as well. Then there's what's called medical leave, right? So you have men and women who take those leaves. You just want to become familiar with those things, those terms. There's also called workplace safety. As a business owner, you will need to know how to provide safe working conditions for your employees. And then there's termination. So when it comes down to termination, are you letting your employees go the right way? When they file unemployment, will you allow them to, collect unemployment, right? You can always deny it for whatever reason, but you have to fight that. So make sure you have all of your ducks in a row for termination. So I'll go over those again. These are really important. So you have discrimination and harassment to ensure workplace is free from that. You have family and medical leave. You have workplace safety. You have termination. You have employment classification. You need to know about the hiring laws and wage and hour law. Next, we're going to get into intellectual property. And so there are about 3 infringement items that we're going to talk about. Maybe not in detail, but these are some things that you need to be have some knowledge about. The first one is trademark infringement. The second one is copyright infringement. The last one is patent infringement. Trade secret misappropriation. So when you're dealing with trade secrets, if you're a mom and pop business, brick and mortar, or if you're a contractor, you might not have to worry about this, but I'll go over that anyway. So trade secret misappropriations are trade secrets. They are confidential information that gives a business a competitive advantage. Small businesses, if you are charged with that, can face legal trouble. Okay. We also have taxes. A lot of us know about taxes, but there's a different tier when it comes down to small businesses. So small businesses can face several tax-related issues that can affect your business and the bottom line as well. So depending on the type of business setup you have, it can have different tax implications. Different businesses set up like sole proprietorship or partnerships require different tax setups. Payroll taxes. Small businesses are required to withhold and remit payroll taxes. Payroll from employment wages. This also includes federal income tax, Social Security tax, and Medicare tax. There's also tax credits and deductions, tax audits, and tax planning. So small businesses need to be aware of the various tax-related issues they may encounter and take steps to comply with tax laws and regulations. You can always consult with a tax professional that can help small businesses such as yourself navigate the complex tax landscape and ensure compliance. So this is just part 1 of the podcast. There is a part 2 that I'm going to just give off right now, right? And that you all need to know, right? It's very important that you understand that if you don't comply with some of these laws, you could face some severe consequences. This is not to scare you or put you in a state of, fright, but it's important, right? So, here's something that I would recommend. I would recommend that you get a lawyer, right? Not just any lawyer. You would want to get a lawyer that's going to help you out, right, in many, many different circumstances. And so, like I said in the podcast earlier, I may have a solution for you. And I'll just, run off how I think I can help you with that. And if you have any questions or concerns about it, by all means, you can give me a call, text, email, however you want to do it, because it is important. So let me see here. I'm going to pull this right there. There we go. So, part of what I do is I help people with small businesses setting up legal plans. So you can be a mom and pop store. It can just be you and your husband, or just you, right? But you need to be protected because there are some things that you may encounter that, you might not know how to deal with. You're a business owner. You're not a lawyer. So here's where I'm at with this. And I use that term loosely because it's important that we understand, hiring a law firm for your business can be expensive, right? Especially if you're a brick and mortar business, or if you're a private contractor, you might not have the funds to do that. And some people, they will do their research on Google. So they'll DIY their legal question, and it might not be helpful always. So my program, takes all of that away. And here's what my program does. So, we provide advice, consultation, and research. Legal consultation and research for business-related legal matters, such as employment, contract disputes, equipment leases, and a whole lot more, right? We help with business legal matters with professional communication on your behalf through letters and phone calls. Designated consultation. So we're making phone calls on your behalf. Telephone consultations with you on business legal matters, such as tax issues, securities, intellectual property, I mentioned that earlier, immigration, and more. So what if you have a worker who does not have their green card? How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with the person who, how are you going to deal when it's time to pay your taxes for your business and you don't know how to do it? You end up owing taxes for your business. How are you going to deal with that? Right? So those are the things that my business helps with, right? Document review. So, if you are a person who receives goods, you're doing things, but you're ordering from different companies, and they give you a contract to sign because you want them. You want those documents to be reviewed, right? So contracts, we're going to look at those for you. Make sure it's beneficial for both parties. So business-related legal documents through legal review. We have also what's called collection letters. So depending on what kind of business you have, you might be a service business and your client did not pay you what's owed to you. How are you going to deal with that? Right? So we'll send out a collection letter from your attorney on your behalf that can help you recoup your payments more efficiently. And if things become a little bit more stressful for you and you need a lawyer to go to court with you and to take care of that, we also have a 25% member discount on any additional business legal work. Okay? And you're always welcome to participate and add on to the IRS audit legal services, expanded interstate services, and that just basically means you receive coverage for select legal services in all 50 states, right? There is a flat fee service. You'll save money by paying flat fees for certain legal services. So here's the thing about our plan, right? With our plan, we have 3 tiers. We have Essentials, we have Plus, and we have Pro. Of course, with the 3 tiers, there's certain things that you can and cannot do. But the basic services is what I just mentioned. You have the advice, the consultation, and research. You have the letters and phone calls written on your behalf. You have the designated consultation. You have the document review. You have collection letters sent on your behalf. Trademark or copyright services handed out. Employee handbook drafting, custom drafting, custom contract drafting, IRS audits, 25% member discount. So these are the things that can help you in your business if you're striving to be successful and have longevity in your business. So we're looking at landscapers. We're looking at folks who, electricians, plumbers, any small business that you can think of, we can protect you. All right. So it's very affordable. It's typically like $1.50 a day for some of our services. $1.50 a day. So if you did the math on it, you figure it out, right? It's really affordable. So, this is what we talk about every day. I talk to many customers on a regular basis and offering them this service. So I'll cut it from there, right? If you are interested in this particular business, to help your business, you give me a call, 386-265-7230, and I'll be happy to give you a free consultation to talk to you about this particular service in detail. Again, any questions, concerns about this particular podcast or the services that I'm offering to you, 386-265-7230. If you like what you heard today, I'll be coming each and every weekend, bringing you more insights on many areas. And I appreciate you, and I thank you for watching and listening to King's Corner. May God continue to bless you and your family, and hope your week is wonderful, prosperous, and eventful. Thank you.